Hello guys and welcome back to the Minifez channel. I'm bringing the long awaited combo tutorial. The first deck we're going to cover is one of the most popular ones, which is Spright frogs. After this video you'll pretty much be able to play the deck at a competitive level. Obviously like the rest of the combos is just like learning as you play the deck, but if you learn these combos you're like 90% of the way there to play it at Euros or something. And if you still need to pick up these cards for Euros, make sure to check out Jam Jam Cards UK. I got the link in the description. And yeah, let's just get right into the video. Starting off the combos, we have one card combos. First off, we have Swap Frog by itself. So you start off this combo by just normaling Swap Frog, dumping Ronin, and then linking off Swap Frog into Almirage. Then specialing back the Ronin by banishing the Swap Frog. And then you link both into Elf, because Elf only needs one level rank link 2 monster. The other monster can be anything. And then you can use the Elf to reborn the Ronin, and then overlay both into Gigantic. Here I put the Gigantic in attack mode because it gains 1600 attack if it's got a link equipped. You can put it in defense if you want, but I prefer putting it in attack because it's at 32 attack. Then you go Detach Ronin, special blue, trigger the blue, adding Jet, special the Jet from hand, trigger the Jet, add starter. You could also add Smashers here, but adding Smashers really hurts your follow-up plays. Adding Starter lets you like summon a Jet on their turn and then search another starter for plays on your turn. But adding Smashers is good to play around stuff like Mystic Mine, stuff like that. But yeah, overlay the two Splights into Djinn Buster and just set the starter. So you have a negate with Djinn Buster, you have follow up with the Gigantic Splight and the starter. You can also use the starter to summon out Carrot or Red for an extra interruption. You could also just make IP instead of this Djinn Buster for like a unicorn play instead of this, but I think the Djinn Buster is probably stronger. And getting the Smashers does like protect the Djinn Buster from like them running over it by battle. Also keep in mind, Gigantic Splight can detach from any XYZ to activate its effect. So you can detach from other XYZs like the Djinn Buster. But yeah, let's go into the second combo. So here we have one Swap Frog again. This one's a bit more basic. You just go Swap Frog, send Ronin, make the Almirage, special back the Ronin, link off into Elf, special back Ronin, overlay for Gigantic, detach the Ronin, special swap, swap, dump, swap, then revive Ronin, make Toad, and pass. This is a lot weaker, obviously, because it's literally one negate, and pray that that's enough with like 0 ways for follow-up. I guess the Toad can add back like Swap Frog for follow-up, but it's not really the best end board in my opinion, but paired with hand traps it could be pretty strong. So it's up to you if you decide to go for this line, but personally not a big fan. Here we have the one Diva combo. So normal Diva, special Diva, overlay for Gigantic, Gigantic effect, special swap, swap effect, dump Ronin, link both off into Elf, Elf special back swap, trigger swap, dump swap, special back Ronin, overlay for Toad. And then you can use the Totally Awesome in the standby phase to summon any frog. If you're playing the dupe frog, you can special that to protect your Elf from battle. Elf also has the effect to protect what it points to by targeting, so they can't like use something like a Golden Lord or something to send the dupe frog. So it's a neat little effect that Elf has, and dupe protects everything from battle. But if you don't want to play the extra brick, then just summoning another swap is fine. Okay, now go into another one card combo, and this is with just Splight starter. So you go starter, special blue, blue effect, add Jet, special Jet, Jet effect. Here you can add either starter or Smashers. Personally, I think Smashers is better to grab. It plays around stuff like Dark Ruler, and it lets you blow out cards like Mystic Mine, just like ruining your day. So I think Smashers is better going blind in 90% of situations. Then you overlay your two Sprights for Gigantic, Gigantic effect special swap from deck, swap effect dump Ronin, and then you can use swap to bounce the hand, And since we still haven't used our normal summon, you can normal the swap, effective swap, dump the swap, special back the Ronin. Then you can link off both of the frogs for Elf. Then use Elf to special back the swap and trigger the swap to dump the third swap. And then special back the Ronin by banishing the swap and then overlay for Toad. And here we still have Gigantic, Toad, and Elf, plus the Smashers. So this is a pretty ideal end board. 2 Toad negates because you can reborn it off Elf. If need be, you can banish the Gigantic for Smashers. And if you don't need to use the Smashers, you have Gigantic for follow-up. And let's say you use all your interruption, you can use Totally to add back Swap Frog for some plays next turn. So, you know, pretty strong end board off of 1 starter. We're getting into the 2 card combos here, but this is more like a 1.5 card combo. So this is what you can do with Swap Frog and any water discard. So you go normal Swap Frog, effect to dump Ronin, effective Swap Frog, add it to hand, special the Swap Frog by discarding the water, trigger the Swap Frog by dumping another Swap Frog, and then special back the Ronin, overlay both for the Gigantic, activate the Gigantic, special blue, trigger blue, add Jet, special Jet, trigger Jet, add starter, then link the Gigantic and Jet into Elf, Elf effect, special back the swap, trigger swap, dump swap, special back Ronin, overlay for Toad. Now here there's a couple of things you can do with a starter. So you can either set it for their turn and then activate it to get into red or carrot, or you can just use it now to get a red, overlay both for Gin Buster and then have a negate with Gin Buster. And you can also go into like IP Masquerena to either do Unicorn plays, Avramax plays, or Underworld Goddess plays if you have more extenders. So now I'm going to show the combo to basically search any tuner hand trap in the deck. So for this you need any tuner extender plus Splight blue. So you go E-Tele here to special the Gamma, which is the tuner, and then special blue from hand, blue effect to add Jet, special Jet, add starter or Smashers, it's personal preference. Then you link one of the Sprights, doesn't really matter, off of the tuner to special Hulk, and then use Hulk to summon any tuner hand trap. Could be Ash, Ogre, Veiler, Bell, personal preference again, as I said. Then overlay Hulk and the Jet for Gigantic, activate Gigantic by detaching the Jet to special swap, swap effect, dump Ronin, swap effect to bounce the Ash to hand. That's how you get the card to hand. Then you link both off into Elf, and then Elf effect to reborn the swap, swap effect to dump swap, special back Ronin by banishing swap, overlay for Toad, and here you have a search tuner hand trap, Elf, Toad, and starter. It's pretty insane that this deck can just search any tuner hand trap. If you're wondering how did like the OCG search Maxi, because Maxi isn't a tuner, basically they did the same thing, but they just special Maxi off of Gigantic Spright, because Gigantic Spright summons any level 2 from deck. So you just special Maxi from deck and then bounce it to hand with Swap Frog. But over here, Maxi isn't legal, so I don't think it's worth showing that combo until we get a ban list. So this is a combo you can do specifically with E-Tele and Spright Blue, or Spright Blue and Starter, or just like a level 2 that specials from free, basically. So you start here with E-Tele into Gamma, special Blue from hand, trigger Blue to add the Jet, special Jet to add a starter, overlay the level 2 and one of the Sprights for Gigantic, Gigantic detach a special swap from deck, trigger swap to dump Ronin, bounce swap to hand, and then normal summon swap since we haven't used the normal yet, swap effect to dump swap, link off Gigantic and swap for Elf, Elf effect, special back swap, swap effect dump swap, special back Ronin using swap, link off Jet and Ronin for IP, special back Ronin banishing the third swap, and then overlay the last 2 frogs for Toad. So here you have IP, Toad, and Elf, and one of the search Spright cards, either starter or Smashers, personal preference as always. So you have 2 negates with Toad, you've got an IP into either Avramax or into Unicorn, you have starter into red or carrot, or into Jet and blue to get extenders for the follow-up turn, and if you search the Smashers, you can just banish either IP or Elf to banish a card they control, basically. Or you could just reborn off elf and banish the thing you reborn. But that does mean you don't get a second toad, so I don't think that's worth it. So I have two combos you can do with Diva and Blue. One is with some extra spicy cards, and this one's just the standard combo you can do. So you go normal summon Diva, special Blue from hand, Blue add Jet, special Jet add starter, then link off both Divas into Hulk, trigger Hulk to special a hand trap, overlay Hulk and one of the sprites, doesn't matter which, into Gigantic effect, detach to summon Swap, swap effect, dump Ronin, swap effect, bounce the hand trap, we'll link off Swap and Gigantic into Elf effect, summon back the Swap effect to dump Swap, and then special back the Ronin, overlay for Toads, activate the starter to special out anything, then you can link off into IP, or you can go into Gin Buster, or you can just set the starter for your opponent's turn, or search smashes instead, basically. So with Diva and Blue, you can get a search Handtrap, Toad, Smashers, IP, or Gin Buster, and one Splight Elf, which is a pretty good board. But there's another combo you can do, which I'm about to show you now. So you go Diva, special Blue, Blue add Jet add starter. Use both Divas to make Hulk again, Hulk effect. But this time, instead of a hand trap, you can summon Yamatiko Orochi. So this card on the field can be treated as a level 8 monster, and it's a tuner. So you can use this and one of the sprites to make Baronne, which is pretty cool. Now you can overlay both Hulk and last sprite into Gigantic, activate Gigantic for Swap Frog, send Ronin, link both into Elf into Swap, dump Swap, special back Ronin, and then standard combo from there. And now you have an untargetable Baronne, 2 Toad negates, plus starter or smashers. Pretty good, but it does require you to play the brick of Yamatiko Orochi, so it is up to you guys if you want to play this. Personally, I don't like running bricks in my decks, so I probably will not be on this, but it's definitely a cool thing you can do. Now I'm about to show you something even cooler you can do if you play the specific combo. So this combo requires Diva, Blue, and a water discard. Doesn't matter any water. So you go Diva, special Blue from hand, Blue add Jet, special Jet, add starter or smashers, personal preference. Link both tuners into the Hulk summon the Yamatiko again. Yamatiko plus a sprite into Baronne. Overlay both the 2s into Gigantic detach, summon Swap. So far it looks similar, but this time we bounce Swap Frog to hand, and then Swap Frog special by pitching the Diva, Swap Frog effect, dump Swap Frog, link both into Elf, activate starter to summon Red, special back the Ronin by banishing a Swap Frog, link both the Red and the Ronin into Dagda, then you can use the Elf now to summon back the Swap Frog, then chain the Dagda since the card on field was activated to set Scythe, and then you special back the Swap Frog, trigger Swap Frog, dump Swap Frog, special back Ronin, overlay both into Toad, and then here you can use Baronne to pop the Scythe. And in your opponent's standby phase, you can go Baronne effect, tag out into Scythe from grave. And that's how you can Scythe lock opponent and sprites. A pretty cool combo you can do, but does require a lot of bricks and giving up an extra deck spot for Dagda and Baronne. Again, if you want to play these cards, it is a pretty cool combo and does shut your opponent out of the game 90% of the time, if it resolves anyway. So if you want to go for this combo, go ahead, it's a pretty cool combo. And now we're moving on to the last combo, another 2-card combo, and we're here with Diva and starter. Here you go Diva effect, summon Diva, activate starter, summon Blue effect, add Jet, special Jet, add starter or smashers, personal preference as always. Then on the 5th summon, you can summon Gin Buster so you don't lose to Nib, and then you can overlay the 2 Divas into the Gigantic, then use the Gigantic to summon Swap, dump Ronin, link the Gigantic and Swap into Elf, and then make sure it's pointing to the Gin Buster to give the Gin Buster extra protection. Then you can special back the Swap Frog with the Elf, dump Swap Frog, special back the Ronin, make Toad, and here we are, usual end board. So these are a couple of combos you can do. I made sure to stick to 1 and 2 card combos for the most part. I know I showed one 2.5 card combo, but I thought it was something cool you should know about. And if you learn all these combos, you should be able to play the deck efficiently. I didn't go off into any of the weird builds like the Sacred Beast build or anything different like that. I will make a separate video on the Live Twin build because the combos of that deck are a lot different, so I'll make a video on that. But I don't think I'm going to make a video on the Sacred Beast combo, because even though it's cool, I just don't think it's different enough for me to make a separate video on it. You basically just use the Sacred Beast to get a free rank 2 basically. And yeah, now I'm going to show you guys my deck list for Spright Frogs and what I personally would play. Okay, so here is the build that I would personally go for. We have free starter, free Diva, free E-Tele, a lot of Sprights. You could also play free pros, but I prefer just playing lots of hand traps and board breakers and free crossouts to protect your combo in light of cards like Prosperity to try to dig for cards. I would rather just stopping the main combo than trying to dig for extenders, basically. I decided on not playing the Yamato Baronne build. I don't like bricks and cards in that nature. I don't think the Scythe lock is worth it in this build. It is probably worth it in the Live Twin build because it's part of the main combo in that build, but in the Frog build it's probably not necessary, and you're only making it like 5% of the time, specifically in the Yamato build. And in terms of the side deck, Anti-Spell is probably still a broken card, but there's other cards you can substitute it for, like Judgment, Strikes, D-Barriers, and cards of that nature. Soul Drain is also pretty good for the Tearlaments matchup and the Punk matchup. It's also good against Fluanderees because it stops all their birds coming back from the banish pile, because monsters that are banished also can't activate the effects, so it's pretty good in that matchup as well. So it's a pretty good floodgate to play against those decks. And we also got twins and 1 harpies for the monkey decks. We have the third Ash and the third Ogre inside, so put in the Ogre against the Mirror and put in the Ash in matchups that it's good in, like Branded or just like generic matchups Ash is good in. And then Nibs for the combo matchups. The extra deck's pretty standard, nothing really that different. You could also play an Underworld Goddess over... Could also play Underworld Goddess. It is seeing playing a lot of Spright builds, so it's up to you if you want to play that. But yeah, this is a deck list. If you have any questions about Sprights, make sure to leave them down below. If you need any of these cards, make sure to check out Jam Jam Cards UK in the description and hit them up on Facebook or eBay, and they'll be able to sort you out of the cards in time for Euros. Yeah, this has been your boy Mini Fez. Leave a like, subscribe, and peace.